Welcome everybody. Look, a bit of a scruff today. Been working hard this morning. Welcome everybody to Matt Bajerski YouTube channel. I've been told that I'm very much shadow banned at the moment. I'm losing 100 subscribers every day now. So yeah, they're really getting heavy on my case. So maybe you could subscribe if you like this video. Today, what I'm sharing with you, if you're watching on playback, hello everybody. Today, what I'm sharing with you is something that I would consider something that I wouldn't talk about per se. And the reason why is because I don't like to put energy into it. However, it's very easy to see now that the world is becoming darker by the day and evil is becoming stronger. We're seeing more and more blatant evil skullduggery. We're seeing lies becoming truths and truth becoming lies. We're actually seeing the darkness, demonic attachments, the opening of CERN, the portals, all of the manipulation with HARP, DARPA, the military industrial complex, every single global huge company, the Bill Gates, the Soroses, all of it, they're now showing their true colors. So I'm going to basically start at the very beginning of my journey, before I became a full-time healer. And what did that include? Healing basically means that people came to me who couldn't actually find any other way of helping themselves through whatever traumatic issues they were. And one of those issues were, let's say, possession of entity, demonic energy, attachments, trapped spirit. And yeah, we could call it the Prince of Darkness, this global energy, which is the polar opposite of light. Light to me is our spirit world. Darkness is of another world where it's demonic, dark. So, you know, we all have our understanding. Light can be called Jesus, but that is what the light actually means. Jesus is the light. And Jesus is just a word, a name, but wasn't really, in my humble opinion, wasn't really a person per se. It was a metaphor for the Prince of Darkness and Jesus of Light. You know, Prince of Darkness, Jesus of Light. So, you know, I have a different take, but it doesn't matter what take I have. It doesn't matter. I'm not belittling anybody. I'm just telling you it's my take. So what I saw is really what life is. I didn't read books, wasn't interested in any of those things, wasn't interested in videos and listening to other people. What I did do for 20 years was to invite people freely, in the sense of my door is open. People can hear about me, hear about my work, and they would come from all over the globe to heal themselves through situations that I actually participated in the healing process. And that's what you would call a healer. And that's what I was for 12 solid years, every day, 7 days a week, in my little room in Tickle Pink over there. Then I came to this place, and then I traveled the whole world, giving talks, workshops, and teaching people how to heal themselves and teaching people how to heal others. Along that journey of the first 7 years was probably the most challenging, because I had to learn and understand through my own experience. So I didn't really have anybody who was telling me what to do, but I did have a mentor who was a Wiccan high priestess, who was telling me what I was doing. So that was quite fascinating. She never told me what to do. She was fascinated because I was actually doing the work when I met her, and she was saying, oh, this is what's happening. And every time I had a question with regards to what we call the Prince of Darkness, she would explain to me what I was doing and how the effect of cleansing, clearing, or the possession and the exorcism was working, how it all worked. But I often disagreed, because it didn't make sense as a practicing healer. And my main work predominantly was trying to help people from across there, Morocco. Morocco had a lot of because it's a poorer place, they normally don't have doctors. They have witch doctors. And a lot of the times, which is very true, they believe that the people who are sick are normally have negative entity or what they would call spirit, dark spirits in them. And this is across the board. It's not just there, it's everywhere. Amazon, Peru, you look back in history and it's always to do with a possession of some description. And there is truth in that. Oh, I'm so clever, I know medicine. Like, just shut up. What was it? The beautiful man who sang songs, Bob Marley. I am no educated, I am inspirated, because if I was educated, I'd be a damn fool. And what I've learned in my life up to this moment is those that with the greatest mind, that have read the greatest books, that are the most super intelligent, are the stupidest people in the world, because they will not accept something that they cannot see. And normally when the mind is filled with academia, all of the everything that they've read in school, in college, in university, they are so blinded, they're so filled with this energy that they cannot see. You cannot fill a filled cup. So when people laugh and mock at us online, they're normally the absolute brain dead morons filled with this kind of I know everything because I've read a book. I went to school, real dunce people, dense, heavy, no understanding about anything. So you waste your time. However, when a dunce or a Dumbo gets into that kind of energy and they decide to fall down a wrong path or decide to start to think bad thoughts and want to hurt somebody really badly, then sometimes they can step into a new world that they didn't realize. And then they'll come to me and they'll say there's something happening, and I'll see what's happening. I'll see what's going on and I'll help heal them. And then, all of a sudden now they believe. Whereas 6 months prior to that, all their life, they laughed and mocked at us. So we have to be strong as healers, because we know that most people generally are very, very blinded by life. They have no idea of the concept of light and dark. They have no idea of the spiritual realm whatsoever. And you are wasting your energy unless they've been in that very energy field and they've been attacked, they've been something has happened to them. You waste your energy talking to these people. You cannot make their mind up. You cannot make them believe. You waste your time. So one of the things that I teach as a pure energy healer now, which is the work that I did, I put it into some kind of technique that I believe is very fluid and works very well. And what I share with people is everything that I've learned about my progression from being in a room, closing my eyes, seeing something, to becoming a healer, to read energy, to see energy, to feel, and to be able to help clear. And ultimately, that's all it is. It's helping clear that. And there is a very, very beautiful process with trying to help people understand why. So there is a dual energy that sometimes can work really well. I used to spend most of my time keeping my mouth shut, because I believe that a true healer is a healer that doesn't need to say anything. I don't need to tell you that you've got demons or you've got entities that are attached to you. I don't need to say that. If I really know what I'm doing, I don't need to tell you any of those things. There is something that I can say, that after the healing session, if that client would come back with the same issue 6 months later, then I know there is something that needs to be done that this person keeps going back to. And thus there can be a conversation, and that I don't have an issue with. But for me, I was very stubborn, and I just said, I don't need to say anything. At the end of the day, the person walks out and they'll know if they feel better. And if they feel better, then something happened. And if something happened, then there was something that happened. And there was a change in that room. So ego isn't part of my life. I can't stand egoistic people, can't stand them, because it's one step closer to darkness to me, and I just don't like it. What I'm going to share with you today is the topic of witchcraft, black magic, sorcery, wizardry, electricity. There's so many different words that are used, but I want to try and narrow it down to rather than specifics, because people will get angry who say, "Well, I'm a white wizard, or I'm a white witch. I do good," right? I'm not here to fight and argue with you, because you could say to me, "Well, you work with crystals, Mark, so you must be some kind of wizardry woo-woo person." And for me, I'm not into words. I mean, when I struggled a lot of the times with this idea of calling myself psychic, I hated it. I still do to this day. But how do you explain to somebody who you are? You know, people need to understand who you are. So I struggle with that. Healer, you know, we're all healers. There's ego there. So it's a difficult one. It's a difficult one to try and find the balance. But suffice to say, who you are is what you do. And that's all that matters. At the end of the day, words are meaningless. Really, they're really meaningless. It's, you know, you shall know them by their fruits, by their actions. And that's what I try and do every day. You see me by my actions, good, bad, happy, sad, and sometimes crazy. But, you know, at least you know and you see truth. No hiding behind something, no bullshitting, no lying there, no deceit. You can see it, smell it a mile off. You smell the bullshit a mile off. So let's go down this path, the path that I talk about, making a deal with demons. Why did I title Making a Deal with Demons? Because there are light and there are dark energies, and light and dark are all around all the time. Light and dark are within these bodies, which are driven by the very spirit that you are, and by the very spirit that maybe Bill Gates is. The two are very different spirits. You cannot look at a physical body and say, "Oh, we're all the same." No, we're not all the same. I wouldn't want to cause any pain and suffering to humanity. I wouldn't want to cull the world. That's not for me to do. For me is to create and make things better and make people feel happier. Bill Gates wants to cause culling, just like his dad did. He wants eugenics. There's too many people on the world. I want to kill them. I want to get rid of them nice and steady and slowly. We need to do this to them and this, and pretend that all of these things are good. And with that, you realize that there is a dark spirit inside of this man. I'm using this man, but there's many, 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 many people like that. And there are people as well who are good spirits inside, and that the darkness, the Prince of Darkness, and all the entities and the demonic energies are just waiting for their opportunity. And their opportunity comes so easily now. Like that. Why? Because people like Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci and all them create the very energy inside your body to allow them in. So it used to be, could it be? Now it's in your face. It used to be Ouija board. It used to be, he's left me. She's done this to me. I want to do that to them. Hello. So let me first of all tell you what I saw as a healer. There is a fine line between manifesting, right? Because as soon as I say to you manifest, what does that conjure up in your mind? It conjures up the idea of you want to create something that will make you happy. That is a dream. That is something that you'd love to happen, right? That's what you perceive it, because you are the spirit of our home world, the spirit world. That is the light, okay? Now, there are people in these bodysuits that come from the Prince of Darkness, of a world which is of darkness, and they feed from darkness. So the word manifesting to them is a certain way of black magic, manifesting in darkness. What do I mean? Well, let's just say there's been many a times that I've had people tell me that they were cursed, they had voodoo attached to them, and blah blah blah. That's a form of manifestation, guys. In a sense, it really is. But what I realized is that when you go down a dark path and you start wanting to manifest something, because let's say you're a woman, you've lived with a beautiful husband, you've got 2 children, and then all of a sudden your husband, you find out, is decided to hook up with another woman, and you now want your man back, and you'll do anything to get your man back. What are you going to do? You're going to try and manifest, depending on who you are. If you're a good soul, you're going to try and, manifest in a very dark way that you want your husband back. You'll do anything for him. And all of a sudden, that manifestation of thought, it depends how you're thinking it. Are you thinking it because you want your husband back, and the only way you can manifest that is by causing pain and suffering to the woman that's taken him? I want her dead. I want her to leave him. I want something to happen badly. Now you're going into a different realm of manifestation. This is not talked about by anybody. Why? Because they don't see what I saw as a healer. So I've sat with thousands of people who tried to manifest, or in other words, do black magic, witchcraft, that kind of energetic frequency, which is on the Prince of Darkness's level. So when you manifest something, you do it because you see somebody and you wish that they could. I watched something of Ole the other day. Ole's wife, Kim, she was on a podcast. I just saw a little bit of it. And there's a family in Bali. And I always do this when I'm in Bali. If I ever see somebody who's in a bad place, I will go to the family and go to the house and help do what I can. I do it every year. And what they did is they've got somebody who works for them, and then their sister died, her husband died, the brother died, and now all the children, 3 children are in a house. The house is leaking and they need the roof to be fixed. That's something I would do. Okay, so now I'm going to manifest that energy. So I'm going to share that on social media. But if you have no money, you wish that all the good luck, everything positive comes to them, that they're able to somehow get what they need. Different forms of manifestation, depending on what your outcome is, what your objective is. So that's pretty simple to figure out. And I figured that out with clients who came to me. So they were good clients who came to me who were going through a really bad place. What happened to them that somehow, I give you for instance, a little girl got run over by a car, and her leg got broken, and it was really bad. Her foot was a mess. It took years, and the mother was so angry at the driver that she wished something bad would happen to them, and because they got away with basically no fine. Reason why is because the father of the young lad who was about 22 worked at the town hall, so they got away with it. And she was so angry that the anger just infused into her, that every day she saw a daughter that maybe not be able to walk properly. Actually, the daughter walks fine now, but in her thoughts at that point that this is not right. And there's a difference between saying this is not right and justice needs to be served, than the justice wasn't served, and now I'm taking it upon myself to start to create more anger, and I want something to happen. This is why I don't like the word karma. Can't stand karma. Karma is a bad word because it enforces the dark prince. You start saying, I wish them karma. Oh, get ready. Well, you're opening the doors. Yeah, come in, guys. Come in. Everybody, all of you guys, come in. Because I know you're all listening and waiting for me just to turn to the side of darkness. Why do you think Star Wars came out? Why do you think there was a battle between light and dark? Dark Vader, the force is with you, and they're turning to the dark force. It's all true. All of these things are all true. Darkness exists, but so does light. So if you know that, The choice is, which side are you going on, light and dark? I'll tell you also something. Before I became a healer, I used to get really, really worried when somebody would do something bad to me. And my friends used to say, why are you worried about what they're doing? And I never told them. Because I knew they would think there was something wrong with me. And there's nothing wrong with me. I've never hurt anybody, never wanted to cause any pain. In fact, the other day I made a video laughing at my school report, and somebody says, I could see you were a troublemaker. I took offense to that because I'm not a troublemaker. I've never caused any trouble in my life. Never once have I caused trouble. I don't cause trouble. What I do is I joke, I laugh, I get bored, but I've never hurt anybody. The worst thing I ever did at school, and if you ever watched any of my videos, you'll hear, I jumped on the back of one lad and started saying he was a horse. And then I felt his suffering, and I felt that, oh my God, I've just become a bully. And I jumped off and I said, sorry. And I could see him, feeling bad because he felt like he couldn't do anything. And he stuck with me for the rest of my life. Don't call me that, because I am not that. I stand at the helm of helping donkeys being spat at. I stand there as a light warrior where nobody would say anything. I stand there and know that my cars are going to get scratched every time I buy another car, which it does till this day. They hate me because I say that donkeys should not be ridden here, especially at the size of these people getting on the donkey. Donkeys shouldn't be ridden like this in the boiling hot heat of 40 degrees sometimes. They're falling down dead. I stood there. I got the newspapers. I get the TV. Always a troublemaker. Oh, am I a troublemaker? All right. Okay. You see me as a troublemaker because I'm in school and because teachers are trying to force this absolute lie into my mind. No, I don't want to learn this. That doesn't make me a troublemaker. It makes me somebody who's strong, who stands up for what I know is real and what is a lie. I don't want to learn history. Telling me about history, it's all a lie, and now it's all coming true. Everything that you were taught, people are now laughing because they were that these who study, really study history, and laugh and say what you were taught at school was nothing more than propaganda. Don't call me a troublesome child. Oh, you were always in trouble. I was never in trouble. I never caused trouble to anybody. I was never a troublemaker. So don't say them words. That's like casting a spell. Don't call me that. You have no idea who I am. I'm the kindest, caring. If I see anybody fall, I'm the first one there to help anybody. I have never wanted to have a fight in my life with anybody. I stand up for myself if I have to, but then I cry afterwards because I end up probably winning most of the time. I get bullied by the most awful people. But my point in making this, digress, is that when somebody does something to hurt me, I worry. Because all my life, those that caused me suffering, and I never, ever once bad thought about them, I worried because I saw what happened to them. Bad things happened to them. So I know that when you start doing bad things, you open the doors to the realms of darkness where you will have to pay in your weight of flesh and blood. When you give your soul in the sense of let them take it, you can't sell your soul. They can only kind of hijack it. But when you give that soul away by moving into the light, into the darkness, then you will suffer. You will suffer because your body will suffer. You will suffer because things will happen to you. So there is that. I've seen it. I've seen it so many times. And that is something that I don't believe people make the mistake by saying, oh, you must have done that. I didn't do nothing. Like when somebody says, have you heard what's happened to so-and-so? And I'm like, what? He's killed himself. You are joking. Oh my God. And that's happened a few times to me, of people who've done bad, not just to me, but to many people. But I found that when people did bad things to me, something really bad happened to them. And that's not me. And that's not karma. That is when you make a deal with demonic, you are entering into the realms of no control. Your thoughts are not your own. You will be manipulated, and so many bad things will happen over and over and over because you open the door. To me, sorcery, black magic, electricity, because electricity is attached to all of this. Witchcraft, all of that kind of stuff normally is because somebody has gone through pain and suffering, and somebody who's wanting power as well. I normally find that it's always derived in the energy of weakness or ego. So I don't see that, oh, I just slipped into this and it was beautiful. My first mentor was a Wiccan high priestess. She used to read I used to hear her on the phone, and she was talking to America, and she was trying to help the FBI with cases to do with demonic, satanic rituals. And what she would explain is, all about the symbolisms, all about what happened, what the ritual was. But mainly, she would try and find the body of that child or that girl or that boy. And she would take her cards out and she would say, within 3 miles, there is a river. And on that river, I see 3 stones. 1 stone is huge, the other 2 smaller. I see this, I see that. That's where the child is. And more often than not, it was absolutely spot on. She was invited to a Cannes festival where a director had made a documentary with regards to finding some precious objet d'art that he was looking for. And he started it by the quest of finding this. And in the film, he calls up my mentor at the time, and she explained that he knew where the location was, but he didn't know where it was hidden. And she said it's in between 2 rocks, and you'll find it because there is a large this and a large that. And of course, he went straight to them directions, put his hand in between 2 rocks, and pulled out the objet d'art, which opened up, and everything was inside. She was invited to Cannes. I remember the day where she bought a handbag. She came back with a Cannes handbag. She was all excited. She wanted that. She loved that. She wanted that more than anything. So that to me, I wasn't really interested in. I like, to most people, they would be fascinated and like, oh, I can win the lottery. I can find things. That wasn't my path. And she wanted to teach me these things about finding lost, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. She wanted to teach me about Wiccan. I don't want to learn that. I have no interest in that at all. I have no pull towards that. I have no ego in that at all. What I want to do is help people feel better. Why? There was only one reason why I want to help people feel better, because my mum died of cancer, and I wanted to find a way that I could help people. And that was the major push towards doing it. When I got pulled into doing it, I didn't want to do it to begin with. There was no interest in that, but I was pulled to it. And then I realized there is something here within me that wants to do it. If I ever done interviews years ago, guys, this isn't ego. People say, who are you? And I always used to say, and people just laugh at this and just think, what the friggin' hell is he talking about? Because they have no clue to what I'm saying. But I used to say that my dad used to work all year, and he had 6 weeks off, and we used to get into a mobile home, a Volkswagen, a blue and white Volkswagen, and we used to drive to Poland, and we'd all go in the family mobile home. We'd get there. I'd choose some sweets, right? Polish sweets came in a bag those days. It was a brown bag, and the sweets would be wrapped up, and they were all fruit sweets, and inside you'd crack them, and then you'd have fruit inside them, different tasting fruits. And I used to fill this bag and say to my mum, can I have some more? Can I have some more? And she used to give me more and more. So I had a bag about this big. After the 6 weeks of being in Poland, which obviously was nice, every day of being in Poland, I was counting down the days to get back. Why? My mum used to say. And I'd say, because I want to get back. What she didn't know is I wanted to get back, because the sweets I wanted to give to my friends. I wanted to share this experience of my sweets with my friends. That's who I am. I've never changed. So, what's he talking about? People just don't get it. They don't see the simplicity in that and how powerful it can and what that means. So that's who I've always been. Like this morning, I went down the road. I went to the office. I put 15 beautiful crystal stones in a bag. I got a lovely piece of suggy light, lovely piece, and put it on a chain. I got 3 of blend of the healer oils. I got a beautiful piece of cavansite on motherstone and the roses there, and I boxed it all and put it all nicely. And I went to where me and my daughter went for some breakfast the other day, and there was a guy there who owns the place, and we had a chat, and it was quite nice. And he told me his son has really now started loving crystals. Now that brings joy to my heart. So I went back, and he came out. I got them all ready. I never told him anything. I just said I'd bring him some oils. And I think I might have said, I'll try and bring you some crystals. But anyway, I saw him coming out, and he came up to me. And I don't lie to you guys. I don't lie. I tell you the truth. Okay. He come up to me and he says, I didn't know, because he mentioned his knee. And he says, I put some of your oil on my spine. And he said, the pain is gone. And I'm like, yeah, it's a pain relief. It's amazing energy. And he said, it is. And I said, here you go, 3 more bottles. What? For me? I said, yeah, of course. And I said, you said your son likes crystal. Here you go, 15 beautiful crystals in this bag. And I said, and this is for your wife. And he was like, what can I do? What can I do for you? I said, you don't do anything for me. You accept them and be happy. That's all you need to do for me. And I'm happy to give them to you. I'm joyful. I didn't tell him this, but I couldn't wait to give them to him, right? Because that's who I am. I'm not into black magic. I'm not into wizardry. I'm not into magic. I'm not into electric. I'm not into any kind of that stuff at all. I'm into caring for others. So 20 years ago, I wanted to understand energy. I wanted to understand people. I wanted to understand why people were going through such pain and suffering. What was going on? How does this work? And the realms you come to and understand that when you start working in a room and you start bringing good energy into that room, and when people come into that room with bad energy, and if you haven't cleansed that energy in that room very high to a degree which I call a ritual blessing energy, which it takes 2 hours to do that for me. I can't do that every day, but I just cleanse the room and it's pretty good. So normally most people come in and that's fine. But when somebody comes in who's been messing with the darkness and who's accepted the darkness in, then it can take a little bit of more time to clear that away. So the idea of witchcraft and black magic and all that stuff, you start to hear words back in the days, and that word I kept hearing was they put a hex on somebody and it worked. So this idea of putting a hex on somebody and it works, I am not here at all to say that darkness does not have the power. It has great power. I've told you all that darkness doesn't have any power. And I did that because, as far as I'm concerned, you have the power to heal any darkness. Now, a lot of people said I had a hex put on me a short while ago when I broke my foot. And all I can say, hand on heart, is that at the time that my foot broke, I wasn't in the best of places. I wasn't happy with life. I saw pain and suffering all around me. I saw people falling down dead on TV. I saw friends, children who had just got turbo cancers. My heart was breaking. What I saw then, I'm getting used to more and more today because it's becoming more and more normalized. But at that point, I was at a low point because I realized that I wasn't able to save the world. We weren't able, you weren't able, I wasn't able to save the world from what is happening to this day. And I was going through pain and suffering. And I think that the mixture of me fearing and me running down after some kind of animal that was trying to attack Lily, the fear, and I got my foot trapped in between two pieces of stone. Don't know how that happened. Even I've looked today to try and find these two pieces of stone. Can't find them. But my foot just went, and it was like this was my foot. And some people really couldn't wait to say, that's a hex. You had a hex on you. Somebody doesn't like you. And I'm like, I'm not interested in listening to this bullshit. At the end of the day, I tripped and fell and broke. Whether somebody did a hex or not makes no difference, because when I was down on the floor, I closed my eyes and I knew I'd broke my foot very badly. And I just said, it's all as it should be. I trust in the process. My foot is going to be beautiful. It's going to be stronger. It's going to heal. And it did. And I'll just show you. Now, you can see from there to there is the scar. And it's healed. And there is no pain. And I'm fine. And do I believe in things can happen to us? Yes, I do. I do. I think things can happen to us when we are at the lowest point. So right now, what I try and share with you is that no one has the power over you unless you let them. So what we see is every day pain is inevitable. And the Buddha was right. You come to this world and I'm afraid pain is inevitable. You can argue very, very strongly that this is a world which is a prison world that enslaves all of humanity, that they don't even know that they're enslaved. And you could be right. And we could fall down that path and start going crazy like Mark Pathio and start screaming and shouting. And yes, I could do that, but I don't want to do that. I've done enough of that. I've tried it. It doesn't work. It might help a few people, but it doesn't ultimately work. Do I speak my truth? Yes. Do I try and speak it with love? I try to, yes. Am I emotional? Sometimes I can get too emotional. I know this. So I know all my weaknesses. I know all my sensitivities. I know all my strengths. So it is called the path of life. I chose this body to live in. I chose my family. I chose this path. I chose you. I chose this moment, in my humble opinion. I am not going to go down the path that this is all bad luck. I've got curses against me. Why am I here? What am I doing? It's all wrong and everything's going wrong. I'm not going to go down that path. That's the path of Prince of Darkness. Once you get down that path, you will be given tests. And I think we're all given tests. And this is a huge factor to this. We are all given tests. When are the tests? Normally, when we are at our weakest. I know this is going to sound awful, but when that door knocks and you're filled with joy and somebody's trying to sell you a religion, you smile and say, I'm all right today. Thanks very much. Not interested. Really happy. Joyful. Don't need your religion. See you later. You feel shit. Something bad has happened. You feel at the worst point in your life. You're lost. That door knocks. Religion. Hello? Where religion? Okay, come in. Why isn't it that religion is ever found when you're filled with joy? Answer me that one. Why is it that you've had a car accident? Something bad's happened. Now you're looking for religion. Now you're looking for God and Jesus. There's nothing wrong with looking for the light. But why is it always when it's the worst possible moment? Why isn't it when you're at the happiest? And it's true. There is truth in what I'm not saying everybody, but there is truth in that. But that truth is a clue. You're not taught anything about the spirit realms. And that's absolutely by design. You will never be taught in religious education about the realms between light and dark. Never, ever. They will never teach you the truth about spiritual realms. Never. But as a healer, I can honestly say to you that I have had an open mind to Jesus, to Moses. I've had an open mind to the idea of the devil, the fact that they were all angels. All of these things I've listened to and tried to not say, okay, I'm going to believe that. But what I'm going to try and do is through these next 2 decades, work as a healer and try and figure things out myself by everyday happenings, just the little things that happen. Sometimes the big things that happen, but try and put the pieces together. So after a full day's healing work, go to my tree, sit down and ask and try and attune to what's going on. I have never once heard the words, go to church. Never once have I heard Spirit say, go to church. Never once. I have never once heard that you need to be a Catholic. You need to be a Protestant. You need to be a Mormon. You need to be a Jehovah's Witness. Never heard Spirit ever mention a religious belief. Ever once. Not once. And if I did, I'd be here now saying I'm a Christian because I heard this said many times in the room. Many Spirit that have spoken, their family. And then what happens is that religion realizes this. And religion is the sneakiest, dirtiest energy that there ever was. So what they realize is, wow, the spirit world isn't mentioning religion or churches. So what we need to do is say, that's because these people are working with demons. So clever. So clever. So finding my message, I'm the messenger. So the message I hear, I give you as a messenger in the way of, this is what I heard. This is what they said. This is what I hear every day. This is what I share with you one-to-one. This is what I felt as I'm giving a healing session. Did you know I healed a little boy not long ago? And as I was doing the healing work, as I looked at his chest, I could see something pulling out. It didn't want to go, but I was at the bottom of his feet. I was told to go to the bottom of his feet by my home world. So I went to the bottom of his feet. He had his shoes off, but his socks on. And normally the way I work is I like to put these are PowerPoints. Okay, there's PowerPoints here. There's PowerPoints here. Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got a PowerPoint here. All of them work in a very unique way. So what I try and do is try and get all PowerPoints onto the feet. So what I do is not look at my client. I turn my back to them and I put both hands like this on the soles of their feet. And sometimes I'll after closing my eyes for 10 or 15, 20 minutes, I'll open my eyes and I'll just turn and look. This little boy was about 9 and in a bad place. The mum and dad had split up. There was a lot of heavy suffering. The boy was self-harming himself. He was cutting himself. Lots of stuff happening. So I realized that, by the way, he wasn't cutting himself. Because of the pain and suffering, hey, the Prince of Darkness gets all all these entities. They all come. And they quite happily, they're there, they're inside. So I'm working on this poor little boy who's filled with this energy, dark energy. And I've got all the PowerPoints there and I'm breathing and I'm just being open to allow the energy of spirit world, this sauce, whatever you want to call it, tomato sauce, HP sauce, it's coming through. This energy flows through the top of my head and through the bottom of my feet. Mother Nature also works as well. So this was more to do with the spirit realm. And then I felt the energy of spirit enter into me. So they come into you and then it's like it can't be explained how powerful that feeling is when you are in the presence of the spirit world, that you are honored that the spirit world now works through you. So your energy must be at a good place for the spirit world to be able to come into your frequency and energy. So I'm breathing, feeling, I don't want to make this sound weird, but I felt ecstatic, right? You can't explain the feeling of the spirit world or your spirit. The reason why you meditate is because you're trying to expand your consciousness to the spacesuit. Very hard, very challenging, right? But sometimes you can do it. And when you sometimes do it, right, with the help of maybe a shaman or good energy in the room or a good healer, sometimes you'll just get into this euphoric energy, right? And sometimes we call it nirvana. And like your whole body's just vibrating, but you're not vibrating, but you are vibrating. Your consciousness is coming out. And that's the frequency and vibration that you should be vibrating on, but not in such a way, because you won't be able to walk. You'd be banging into lampposts if you were vibrating that high all the time. But it's just enough for you to feel it anyway. So I'm feeling that with this boy. And I turned my head and I just looked. And as I looked, the closest thing I can explain was that the boy's chest pushed up. And as he pushed up, I saw what looked like some kind of serpent snake coming out of him. And I remember watching a film once, and I'm like, that film didn't come from nowhere. Nobody just made that up. This is exactly what I saw. And I don't know if you ever remember, I'm not going to remember. Electra. There's a film called Electra, and it's of a girl who grew up and became like a martial artist, and she knew that there was darkness. Anyway, she and two other people, a young girl that she was trying to protect, and a man, she was trying to protect against these bad guys. And these bad guys were kind of demonic. They were all demonic. But there was one particular man who had tattoos all over his body. And one of the tattoos was of like a snake or a serpent. And he sat down and meditated. And as he meditated, this snake came out. Loads of snakes came out. Well, they exaggerate in films in Hollywood. But what I saw was something coming out. And no sooner did I do that, the child went back down and just went into a sense of, I call it a place of peace. So I carried on for about, I think 30 minutes in the same place, because I didn't want to leave. At that point, I didn't want to leave. I just want to stay there. So I want to make sure everything's gone if possible. And the feeling of the spirit, you know when spirit's in and when it's gone. So I said to myself, I'll wait till spirit's done its work. So I'm like 100% certain this is going to be perfect. It's going to work. I always believed it. I always used to say thank you, meaning I always teach all my students always the word thank you. Right? Thank you means it's done. And every time I do a healing session, I don't look at fixing anything. I just say, thank you. It's already healed. Now I'm just going to go through the process, which means you eliminate fear. That's what darkness and demons don't like. They don't like the fact that you are not frightened and worried, because they feed on that. But no, I'm saying thank you because it's already done. It's just a matter of time till it's done. And I'm just waiting till it's done. I'm not, something's going to actually, maybe I'm not good enough. None of that bullshit. You have to overcome that. And luckily I was strong enough. I didn't have anybody who tells me that this is frightening. You don't walk it like I've been in my bedroom all my life with spirit. I know what it's like. It never hurt me, but I was frightened of it because nobody was there to teach me what this is all about. No religion knows anything. Priests are, for them, 99% of them haven't got a bloody clue. And a lot of the times I realize that the Vatican priests who do this full time for a living, I find it fascinating, because I have never once talked to a demonic energy while working on a client. And I think that what they don't know is that they have no clue to what energy is and how demonic energy realms work. I don't need to talk to somebody to take demonic energy out of that person. I know that I just need to put the energy into them. And on a side note, I don't need these. These were my mum's. And I realized in the first few years what I was doing when I had these. And Spirit World was trying to tell me something all the time. And I had to listen hard until the day I realized what was going on. Blew me away. Like, the cross is a piece of metal. It's a piece of metal, guys. It has no healing properties at all. You put a piece of metal on top of your client and walk away who's got an attachment, and I guarantee you there is no burning, no worries, no fears, nothing, because it's a piece of metal with some wood. It doesn't really do anything. But when you've got the piece of metal in your hand and you are saying what you're saying, you can see the suffering happening to the demon inside. Why? It's really simple. Because you believe in the cross that much that you create the very power that you could have created without the cross. So I realized that there's me thinking it's the cross because I'm frightened about my ego, when all along the cross is just a cross. And if I fully focus and allow this energy to come through and have the confidence that you know that it's coming through, it's the same effect. However, there is a difference between a cross and a crystal. Why is that, Mark? Because when I put a cross on my client who's in suffering and pain, nothing happens when I go and sit down and just wait. But when I put a crystal, or the correct crystal, on my client who's suffering, all of a sudden I can see there's something frigging happening here. The crystal is working. It's sending a wave and it's healing that client. And there is some movement with my client and they're going, oh, you can see the crystal's working. Get over there and work with the crystal, Mark. Everything that I share with you guys is all truth. No reading nobody else's books. No saying, oh, I watched a video and I'm telling you what I know because of videos. Most of the people you listen to on podcasts who talk about spirituality haven't a freaking clue. They make shit up, and that's frustrating. So back to this anyway. The possession, they come. Multiple energies can come in when you ask for it to come in. I made a video a few times. I remember my wife had left me, and I was living in a little flat, and I did the flat out really nice, and I was working as an auctioneer, and I was clearing out properties. But because of my suffering, I suffered 7 years. I wasn't a healer, a psychic, nothing, just a normal lad, just getting on with it, didn't believe in anything. But I was kind, still the same kind person. And I remember going into this house, and for some reason, don't read books. Don't read books. I'm crap at reading. But this book jumped out at me. I don't know how it happened. It could have fallen on the floor. I can't remember exactly how it happened. But I tell you, I brought this book home. And it was a book which was dark. And all I can tell you now is my remembrance of 2 words. And they were in, remember old books when they were books? Like books now are just like this. Like, you know, but books back then in the 20s and 30s were like, they were hardback. They were really beautifully made with sometimes spongy, like they were just beautiful. They were beautiful. This book looked beautiful. And the 2 words in gold leaf said Golden Dawn. I didn't know what Golden Dawn meant, but I took the book home. Was I in a bad place? I used to go out clubbing. I used to be a dancer, full-time dancer as well. So on a night, I would dance at Mr. Craig's in Bradford, Josephine's in Huddersfield, Josephine's in Sheffield. I would do all the nightclubs. I was a dancer, professional dancer. And did I take drugs? When my wife left me, I was totally against drugs. I wouldn't ask. If you're going to take drugs, you're going to enter into this realm. You're going to be tested. Right. I've talked about drugs before. That's why I'm telling you. So, my best friend and he was my best friend and dancer. We were called Positive and Negative. We used to be robot dancers all over the UK. And I remember going to this place called Hard Times, and we were upstairs in Hard Times, and I didn't need to drink. So I just drink Coca-Cola. I wasn't a drinker. And I certainly didn't take drugs. I was ready to smack him in the face. And he tested me 3 times. He said it once, and I said, fuck off. Stop being a dick. He tested me again. And the 3rd time, I tried it. And I think it was in that space of time, those weeks, that this book jumped out. So there's a connection between drugs and the Prince of Darkness, the demonic realms. They're always watching, they're always around, and they're always waiting. That's their job. But then the light is always around. It's always watching, and it's always waiting. So I remember sitting in my IKEA black chair, and I got this book, and I opened it up, and I started to read this book. And the book, first of all, started talking about, have you ever wanted anything in life? What would you do if you could have anything you wanted? What if I was to tell you that after reading this book, you can have anything you want? There was a chapter or 2 that within that moment, something came over me. And it was the same something that I recall as a young boy being in a post office. And upstairs in the post office was a joint house of 2 twin brothers who invited me and a few other people, because we used to be on the CB, and I was called Dr. X on the CB, from the UB40 Dr. X in dub, I think it's called, because I liked it. It went dun 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 dun, and then it became like, it was like reggae music, but with a really good twist. If you haven't heard it, listen to it. Present Arm in Dub, I think it was called, and the record you should listen to is Dr. X. So I liked that track as a kid, and I used to play it over and over, and I used to like ska music back then, and this was like really, I just really liked it. So I called myself Dr. X, and I got pretty popular and on the CB radio. So I was invited to this party. What I didn't realize is that they turned all the lights off, and then they put candles on, and they put this board game down, and they all told us to put our hand on this glass cup, and they said that this glass cup will move, and everybody was laughing to begin with. And then these 2 brothers, I realized that these 2 brothers knew exactly what they were doing. They must have been playing with this for a while. This is a game to them. But something came over me. It was like a cloud. It was like like fear just encompassed me. As we were playing it, I remember asking one question, and that was, what car would I have when I'm older? What's going to be my first car? And it said Nissan Cherry. I'm like, I'm never going to buy a Nissan Cherry. I can't stand Nissans. So I realized just by that there's lying going on here. There's some kind of deceit going on here. I got up, and I left. Within that that party, within those people, one person killed themselves. So I knew that even then I didn't know anything about anything, but I knew that as a kid, I was smart enough to realize that if somebody killed themselves and they played with that game with me, that I did right to walk home. And I did. I walked home on my own. And it didn't feel good. But maybe I had the love of my mum. Maybe my mother was protecting me. I don't know. But my point is that when I opened that book, I could feel the same encompassing energy come over me. How do you explain when darkness comes over you? It feels like you are being taken over. It feels like you are no longer in control and something is going to control you. Now, as a soul that is free, that is a sovereign soul, I don't want to be controlled. A lot of people do. So you might struggle and say, well, how can people have darkness in them? Because they want to be. They want something more powerful than what they believe in themselves. So they are happy to take this because they think that this is power, more powerful than them. Therefore, they live with that. And it's hard for them to get rid of it. But when you are somebody who says, no, I don't want this in me. I don't need this in me. I am perfect the way I am. I'm strong enough the way I am. Then it goes. And it has no chance to stay. So what I noticed as young children and mums bringing their children in with this energy that has attached to them, it's the only way you can say it really, but it actually encompasses them and stays with them. Some people say, oh, it's one energy. Literally, guys, we are dealing with realms of different energies, darkness, different demonic attachments. That's why I say attachments. I say spirit trapped. I also say there's loads. I could just keep going on loads and loads. There's loads of demonic kinds of attachments, and they come from different realms, but they attach to you. They'll all come at you at once. So sometimes you can clear one away, but then there's still another one. And sometimes, you'll clean them all at once, depending on how strong and what's happening. A lot of the times with your client, if they fight and they don't really want to get rid of it because they've enjoyed, but they don't say it, and they're frightened of it, but they still want it. Again, there's so many reasons why it's hard to get rid of these demonic energies. If you are still taking medication, hard to get rid of them because you're open and you just boom, boom, straight in. If you're drinking spirit, then spirit is going to come, boom, boom, boom. Taking, mainstream medication, you're open to it. If you are in fear, you're open to it. If you are in anger, you're open to it. If you are in jealousy, you're open to it. If you are bitter, you're open to it. Any kind of low frequency, you just diminish your aura by saying, whatever the issue outside of what's happening of me is more powerful than me. Therefore, I am jealous of something or of somebody, which means that you are now depleted of your beautiful energy because you've given it all away to that very issue. Eyes Wide Shut was a film by Stanley Kubrick. And I believe that that film isn't really the film that he created. There's a lot of talk about that book. And when I watched it, it didn't make sense at all. And I think it goes a lot more deeper and it's a lot more darker than what we saw. It was dark enough, but it goes a lot more darker. You see, in this realm that we call home world, Earth holds these vessels called bodies. But what resides in them bodies are very different from one another. The ones that are, I call, from a world which is of darkness, they normally reside to all of what is seen as rituals with spit, semen, blood, and on and on. That is their normal practice. Drinking the blood of Christ, the body of Christ. That's not drinking the body of Christ. You're drinking the blood. That's not love and light. You're eating the body of Christ. No, that you're not eating the body. You don't even know what the word Christ means. You don't understand what you're talking about. You don't know what you're doing. You're doing a ritual, and it is demonic. So they've brought demonic into the light. So most people think that religion is the light, when in fact it's actually darkness. It's the biggest trick the devil ever played. I'm hated for this. I'm hated for this. I'm ostracized. Nobody will have me on podcasts. Nobody will talk to me because what I say, I believe they don't want to hear. But I tell you that Eyes Wide Shut is real. It's as real as day. It's as real as night. It's as real as light and dark. It is a constant every day, every night. It is performed all over the world. And if you only knew how many bodies that contain a spirit from the dark world, not our world, you would freak out. And they practice their demonic dark energies because that's who they are and where they come from. What they don't tell you is that they do their best to capture light and change it to dark. That's where the Monsters Inc. comes from. The younger, the better. To take a beautiful light and kill that light so it's always in darkness is their joy, is their aim and their goal. So when Tom Cruise found himself going there because he was tested, those that were around him with masks on do this because it's their joy. It's their food, so to speak. It's their energy. And this happens every day. That's why we're tested every day by darkness. So darkness is basically the energy, the source that comes from a home world to those that are pedophiles that want to kill everybody. That's their spirit world. Our spirit world comes from light, enlightenment, truth, love, help, heal, protect, create, joy. But we've been hijacked. We've been told, we've been lied to. We've been told everything that is not real. You will never be taught this at school. They will never tell you at school because the world would not know what to do with it. What are you going to do with that? How do I know if they're a good spirit or not? Am I going to walk around in panic mode and wondering who's actually a dark spirit? Can the world ever actually understand this? And could we ever work together with light and dark? The only way you can is by saying that we are all created by God and we're all in the same image of God. That's how they get away with it. That's why the Vatican is the most demonic, deprived place on this earth. It is so demonic. And then they've got all the little gophers running around pretending to be filled with love. And loads of them believing that they are filled with love, when the whole hub of that is all to do with darkness, to bring all of these and enslave them. That's why there's so much pedophilia in church. Church is Circe. Circe is the demon that brought people into the church, into a home, and fed from them, bled them dry, stole all their money, took everything. That's what the church does. People don't even know what the word church means. If they knew, they wouldn't even go. So why did I make this video today? Because everything that I shared with you today may make you think about everything that I've spoken about and how it's easy to make a deal with demons. and why we should keep our body clean, why we should stay away with recreational drugs, why we should stay away with pharmaceutical drugs, why we should do our best to eat healthy, natural, look after our body, take care of our mind, be kind, be caring. That's why every day I try and be kind to somebody. Every day it strengthens my energy, makes me feel better. I know if I give something to somebody, I can feel the joy in both of us. I get so much out of it, which makes me stronger, which means that my mind isn't corrupt. It isn't feeling bad. It's feeling joy. So I gifted today. I went all the way there to get purposely to. I look online at people who are bad and feeling bad. I will target them in a loving way and light way and send them crystals and love and healing. Why? Because it's my job. Because I am the light like you. That's what we do. That's why this world is still standing. It's still beautiful. I'm wishing you all a lovely day today. I hope this little conversation, you get one thing out of it. And if you got one thing out of it that resonates, go and sit down under a tree. Go out to Mother Nature. Go for a walk. And ask your conscience, ask your spirit, why was it that what Mark just said, I resonated with? What does that mean? What do you want from me? By asking the questions to what makes you happy, by asking the question and following forward on that feeling of joy or excitement or anticipation or a wonderment of that question. What I need to know more. That's it. That's your path. Because every time you do that, it takes you one step nearer to your journey and who you are and why you're here. From the bottom of my heart, you are amazing. No one has the power over you unless you let them. Don't let them. Have a great day. Thanks. Take care. Bye for now. Bye, everyone.